me to dance, taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Isn't It Romantic Book Club. Today, we're going to be talking to Jane Porter about A Soldier's Promise. Oh, there's a glare. Wait, there, you can sort of see it. And like, I was just looking at this little hunky cowboy on the front of this. Like, I don't know how I didn't see him until like just now, but like, okay, I like the hunky cowboy on the front.
How did you miss that?
I know, because I was reading the book. Like, I wasn't looking at the cover, but now, like, okay. All right, so we're all glad you're here. If you're watching, feel free to let us know where you're watching from. We always love to hear that. And we're all going to tell you where we're watching from because we're on the road a little bit. I'm Abbie Roads. I write dark romantic thrillers. Oh, look, and Sharon's got my book because I'm on the road. And it's an old cover, but it's still the book. It's called Capturing Fate. Thank you, Sharon. And I'm on the road in Anna Maria Island, Florida. So that's why I don't have any of my books with me, or I'd show them to you. I have the Beautiful Nightmare series and the Blood is Thicker Than series. I almost forgot the name of that series. So I have 2 series out, total of 5 books. If you like dark romantic thrillers that seem like an episode of Criminal Minds meets a love story with a twist, I'm your girl. Try out my books.
Hi, I'm Sharon Wray. I also write, I don't write romantic thrillers. I write romantic suspense. I've got the Deadly Force series here. Think sexy ex-Green Berets and heroines who need to solve Dan Brown type mysteries with lots of steamy scenes in between. I also write contemporary romance, and I just wanted to say this charity anthology I'm in has one of my contemporary motorcycle club romances in it. It is, I think, going off sale this weekend, but all the proceeds go to benefit free speech. So I'll throw that up there.
Nice.
My name is Diana Muñoz Stewart. I write romantic suspense for the strong of heart. I also do contemporary romance. My Bad Legacy series, the 3rd installment, is coming out soon. So here is the cover, Hard Promises.
Love the cover, Diana.
Yeah, and this has been such a fun series to write, but man, it's taken a lot out of me. So I'll be glad to share it with everyone, get it out there.
Nice. Well, I'm Jennie Marts. I write small town stories with humor and heart and occasionally a dead body. So I write cozy mysteries, cowboys, and hockey players, and a few hockey playing cowboys. So my most recent series is the Lassiter Ranch series, 3 cowboys, 4 Dodge and Chevy, whose mom named them after the trucks their deadbeat dads drove away from them in, and then she left them too. So I am so excited that Jane is here. And I'm coming from, I don't have any of my books either because I am coming live from Montana. We're on our epic Montana road trip adventure. My husband retired recently, and so we're off traveling, visiting friends and family from when we used to live here. So hopefully my internet does not go down, and Montana is the can you not hear me now state sometimes. So you never really know what's going to happen. But I am excited to introduce Jane. Jane is my publisher as well. So we work together. I work for her. I don't know how you say it. She'll probably say it different when she comes on. But anyway, let me introduce her because she has got quite a career. USA Today, New York Times, bestselling author of 75 plus, over 75 romance and women's fiction titles. Jane Porter has been a finalist for the prestigious Rita Award 6 times. That is amazing. With her Thule Publishing novella, Take Me Cowboy, winning the novella category in July of 2014. Today, Jane has over 15 million copies in print, which is, gosh, wow. Including her wildly popular Flirting with 40, a novel picked by Red Book magazine as its red hot summer read in 2006 before being turned into a Lifetime movie in 2008, starring Heather Locklear. In 2021, 2 of Jane's Taming of the Sheenan romances were turned into original movies for Great American Family Network. And if that's not enough, if Jane's not busy enough, She holds an MA in writing from the University of San Francisco and makes her home in sunny San Clemente, California with her surfer husband, 3 sons, 3 dogs, and you can learn more about Jane at janeporter.com. Welcome, Jane.
Oh, welcome, Jane.
Hey.
Yay. Wow, what an impressive, gosh, when do you sleep, lady?
No, I take naps now every day. Now that I've moved up a decade, I'm like, oh, it looks like I call it my reading time. But everybody knows after about 15 minutes of reading, I'm probably taking a nap. And actually, it's like my favorite part of the day. And in the beginning, only Megan Farrell at Julie Publishing knows that usually between like 1 and 2, I like to, whether it's 20 minutes or longer. And so when people say, can we do a 2:00 meeting? Megan will even say, she's our associate publisher, oh, that might be a rough time. Can we pick a time earlier? That's because Jade is doing a little siesta. And it's honestly, maybe it's because I have to, from 3:00 on, start cooking a lot. My youngest son comes home from school and he doesn't eat all day until then. And he's 17. And so he wants a lunch at 3:30, right when he's in. And then I make dinner for the other 4 guys starting at 5:30. And so from 3 until 7, I'm in the kitchen every day. And we don't have AC. Wow. And it is so hot in Southern California right now. And the humidity this morning was at 91%. And I'm like, I'm going to a hotel. I'm not, but I appreciate it. So anyway, I'm here and I love seeing women. So hi.
Hi. We're so happy to see you. So tell us about this book that we were reading. We all loved it.
I loved it.
Well, can I talk to you as writers / readers? Because I think it's, this was a book that I started writing, and I don't want to say it did me in, but I stopped writing for about 18 months. It felt dark, it felt complicated, and I have stuff going on at home with a situation that is rather dark and complicated. And so I thought, I don't want to do this. I just can't. And so I thought, I'm going to just live my life and love my husband and love my family, and we'll see if I'm going to write again. And that was kind of during the time where I started getting involved with RAGT a little bit, and Lori had asked for help. And I was really happy for quite a while not writing. And that was probably the first time since I sold in 2000 that I took, more than 3 months off. And then I thought, I don't think I'm ever going to write again. And then I thought, it was like almost this time 2 years ago. And I thought, you know what? I want to write. I just don't want to write that one. And so I wrote a Christmas book for part of my UK series. And it was called A Very English Christmas. And I just wanted something, when I say tropey, it just like that readers would embrace. It would have, the single dad with little kids. It's the holidays. Their nanny needs time off and he needs a different nanny. And so she's kind of a replacement when the one they'd hired said, I can't cope with your kids, and storms out. So it was just like what I call a typical tropey Jane Porter fairy tale, because I really do love those stories we were raised with, where we kind of know what's going to happen, but then the fun of it is surprising the readers along the way with different things. So I loved writing that, and I had so much fun that as soon as that finished, I said, you know what? Let me go tackle this book again, A Soldier's Promise. And it actually gave me a breathing space for how to look at it and approach it so it didn't feel so heavy. And I haven't done that a lot. I don't know if you guys have done that a lot, where you set a book aside for a while. But I just was like, nope.
Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah, definitely done that. Yeah.
I just wrote a book for the first time. I hadn't written a book in a year. Wow. So I took a year off too. And I just turned it in to you.
Yeah.
Weeks ago. So this is my vacation after turning in a book for the first time in a year and writing a whole book in a year. Sometimes we need that break.
Yes, 100%. And I feel like in the industry we're in, it seems to be a lot about new release. And when I use the word churning, I don't mean churning as churning creatively, but churning on us as humans. Create, make, do, publish. And it feels so competitive out there that if we aren't doing that, our readers won't be waiting for us. And that's the other thing I realized. I have favorite authors. and some of them write only one book a year, and I wait for them. I wait all year. I'm not going to forget them. So I think there's always that in my head, the publisher brain, the writer brain, and then the reader brain. And the reader brain is probably my favorite because it calms me down, calms the writer, because I love reading so much. And I usually do my reading at night when everybody's in bed. So from, I don't know, 8 until 10 or 9 until 11, that's when I read. And it's, again, after the nap time, my favorite part of the day.
So tell our readers what this book is about.
Okay. It is about a character we see in another book. And maybe that's partly why it was so hard. She shows up as kind of the antagonist in my book called Bear's Heart. She was the fiance of a hero in the book right before, and pretty much has done the hero wrong. And but we never really know her story. We don't know what choices fueled her life, her career, and different things. And she is a very hardworking, what I think of as instead of mid-list author, she's like a mid-list country singer, and maybe a little bit like me. I don't even realize. I think I thought that until just now, where I had highs at one point in my career. I had really big stuff happening, and then there were shifts in Barnes and Noble and Borders. Like we lost Borders, and everything started shifting in the traditional publishing a little bit. And there was a recession going on as well, and publishing shifted. And that was also kind of the advent of the beginnings of digital publishing, 210, 211. And anyway, so I just feel like this story where she had sacrificed so much for this career, for being the singer. I think it resonated with me. And maybe that was one of the reasons I also needed to set aside, because when all my boys were growing up, all I did, I feel like, was write and write and write. And I was constantly traveling, but not necessarily for glamour things. I loved going to RWA events and speaking. I really, because I'm a former teacher, I have my MA in writing. I love craft. Like nothing makes me happier than talking to writers about story, how we build story, how to make story connect with our readers. And so I think when the story, maybe it just felt way too personal in ways. And also, so it's kind of a redemption story. And the hero, who better for a redemption story than a hard-ass former Marine who was, like kind of the elite elites, or he was actually a Texas Ranger, not a Texas Ranger, he was a Army Ranger, and he was an elite and could handle almost anything. And so even though she felt like she had done so much wrong, in his mind, you can't live in the past. Everybody has done something wrong. His life has been filled with hard decisions, and you move forward. So I really liked these two. The only thing was he was not sticking. He had signed up to go back overseas. And so he was good at helping her in this brief window of time before she's going to have this baby and give it up for adoption. And he really didn't think she should give the baby up. He thought she should keep it. But then again, he's not sticking around. And so in her world of men with their thoughts, she just didn't want one more man's thoughts who's going to also leave her, because there was a series of stuff. So anyway, I think in the end, I really loved the book. It just kind of broke me.
I loved this book. And I will say, it took me 10 years to have my children. And so there was always talk of adoption, so when I was reading this book, I felt the emotions of both the heroine and the potential adopted mother. And my emotion, I was crying during this book, because back and forth. I'm like, oh, I know what's going to happen if she gives the baby up, but I also know what's going to happen if she keeps the baby. And I pushed through because I just wanted to know so much. And the emotions were so heavy, but yet in the end, it was so joyous. The whole book was such a joy. I loved it. Absolutely.
Well, I think because all three of my kids are, two of them are IVF babies, and one of them was artificial, the first one. And my former husband, the dad of my two older sons, is a paraplegic, and he was in a chair when I met him. And so having kids was not an easy thing. And if in Bear's Heart, the hero, Bear, who's a Montana legend, he's a bull rider, and he got the name of Bear for kind of standing up to a grizzly when he's a little boy, and protecting his sister. And, he says I didn't make myself a legend. The news kind of made me a legend. So his real name was Braden, but he always went by Braden Bear Anderson, I think was his name. But I guess the point was, for me, having kids was never an easy thing. It was a tremendous effort, and it was a decision. Like, oops, I used to joke, wouldn't it be amazing to like have an orgasm and find out you're pregnant? I was always in a very brightly lit room with my legs like this and like 5 people around. And I'm like, oh, not romantic. So I think this book, and a lot of my books do have pieces of me. And I think sometimes if the closer they are to me, maybe the harder it is to write, because I do like that emotion in writing. I like being real, but then it's like you say, kind of balancing the dark with the light.
Yeah, I thought it was beautifully well done. And I loved how the more emotional the story got, I noticed from the writer point of view, the more spare the dialogue got. And what I love when authors do that is it allows me to fill in my emotions while I'm reading the story. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think that I learned early on, so I was signed with Harlequin Presents out of the London office after 14 years of trying to sell. And I had 15 rejected books that I'd rewritten over and over before I sold. And I think one of the great things with Presents was they really limited secondary characters. It was really him and her. And they would say, don't have them apart that many pages. Don't, so it really was a story, instead of about just external stuff, it was about the internal conflict. You have your own, and then the conflict between the two. And I do think with Presents, a lot of those characters had more, in a way, dramatic baggage. And so, but I found that ended up being my writing home, because I grew up with, some heartbreak and really hard things. And I never knew what a girl next door was supposed to feel like. And that was why I think over the years, it took me so long to publish. I had to kind of grow up, even though I was starting to submit in my 20s. It wasn't until I was probably a mom of a couple of years and in my 30s where I started to, it's hard to write a grounded, relatable heroine if you're a little bit crazy. And I've always said, I'm a little bit of a lot. And it's just that I felt things deeply. I grew up in a farming town I didn't know anybody who's a writer. And the more I wanted to be in a creative industry, the more my mom said, it's not practical. And you're not, and she meant it with love, but she said, you're not talented enough and you're not going to be able to do it. Now, if you tell Jane Porter she can't do it, she'll spend the rest of your life.
Write 75 books and show you.
And I think that's why we have so many. I was so afraid that would be taken away. I'm going to write, and until somebody figures out I don't know how to write. I'm slowing down on my own.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, right.
It is. Yes.
And Cindy says, I read this book in March. Savannah is such a solid character. My favorite part of the book was the birth of her baby. It was so special and beautifully written.
Oh, it was. And I love the fact that she was singing in church right before her. I love that part. That broke me.
I think because originally this was supposed to be a Christmas story. And I finally realized so much of the story was going to have to happen after Christmas. And I thought, I guess I could rush it through New Year's. But I thought, no, let's just pull it. Let's release it February or March. And thank you, Cindy. I know Cindy. She's an awesome book reviewer. But I think it's hard for us, maybe as, again, creative. Sometimes we have to get out of our way to reimagine. Okay, this is what I was going to do. What else can I do, or how can I approach it? And the beautiful part about, ebooks, digital publishing, indie, is the fact that we can do all kinds of things. And that's one reason, even though I've always had still contracts with traditional publishers, I've kind of let that go the last couple of years, because I prefer the freedom, and I prefer the creativity and the transparency that we're getting publishing differently. Whether it's a boutique publisher or you're on your own, I love it.
So I have a question about Savannah, because you kind of talked about it a little bit, that she did do some not so great things, and she wasn't super nice to the last guy. And how challenging was it to make the reader fall in love with this? I mean, I fell in love with her easy enough, but as a writer, how to flip that and make the reader still be like, oh, I loved her, even though she's done some,
Well, we I think for those who read Bear's Heart, they kind of dreaded reading about Savannah. I think they knew what she had done and who she'd done wrong. And then we're here knowing she hadn't wanted the baby. And then the baby's dad had been killed in a big accident in Idaho. And she just didn't think she was good enough. And she thought she would hurt the baby. And the best thing actually for the baby was to place it with people who really wanted a child. And I think that part I will say is that part for me is what became a huge piece of the hang up when I wanted to push back against the story, because I really didn't want to hurt them. Even though they were fictional, they didn't feel fictional to me. And I am very supportive of different organizations and things that, with adoption and fostering and helping young people who need, like, going back to school, who are foster kids. Just this has always kind of been a big piece of my heart, and knowing that I was going to hurt these people, and I'm like, they're imaginary, but I thought, but it's also based, this really does happen. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the part for Savannah thought, if I can only do this, then I have redeemed myself. If I can sacrifice my own needs, then I'm finally saved. And then actually, Sharon, I like that you kind of got that singing in the church the night before, trying to find this peace for her, trying to find somehow how do I do this? Because, and I think what I loved about the hero was that for him, it was just simple. There's no agonizing, every time he was in a war situation or danger, he didn't agonize over what happened. He just compartmentalized so firmly. And I think sometimes alphas do that and they make it seem easy. Why don't you just move on? And you're like, no, because I have to move on with me, and it's not that easy. So I think that was hard. And I think for me, it came down to those little, not even the big scenes, the sequel scenes, the little connecting ones where she has a chance to show a softer side, or she has a chance to have a very honest conversation. And I think that was all I could do for her, was make her as honest and real, and then let hopefully readers, shift with her.
Well, I think the fact that I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that Laurel says, you're a new to me author, Jane, but I'm intrigued with your stories. Sounds like you put a lot of yourself in your books.
Probably more than my family would like. No, I think I did. I think I did struggle a lot. I really did growing up. I'm really painfully introverted, which people don't see when they see me in person, but I also then grew up in theater. And theater taught me how to kind of put on a mask and do your hair and makeup. And it created a persona that allowed me to be less sensitive in public situations. But underneath, there's just, I pick up on moods and energy and emotions. And the more people there are, the more I think I'm trying to scan a situation and read it. And it's, I've been that way since I was little. And I always thought, why am I such a freak? It just felt weird. And I wasn't raised in a family that was very good with emotions. Emotions were bad. I come from a family of engineers and scientists and math people. And I wished I had, and I did have a couple of teachers along the way who encouraged my writing or my poems or whatever. And I always felt safe with those people. But it was back in my world where my emotions were so strong that I think writing became the only place that felt safe, where characters could have strong emotions and they weren't shamed for them. And so
No, go ahead.
No, it's just to say, I think that's why books became such, also reading felt safe, and then writing felt safe. And it wasn't until I actually started to make real writer friends that I'm like, oh, like you hear me talking about my good friend Megan Crane. She and I were not fans. We met at a publisher event. We shared the same editor with Grand Central Publishing, and we got taken out to dinner. And I looked at her and thought, I don't like her. My editor likes her better. And she looked at me and thinks, oh, she's so Hawaii and tan. And neither of us really liked each other. And then I said, oh, when you come to Hawaii next, because her husband had in-laws in Hawaii, I said, look me up. And so we got together and then we had a great time. And she's one of the few people in my world till I met more writers who let me say what life was like. And instead of saying, oh no, that's not true, just validated it and said, your reality is your reality. And it is real.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen until I was 40. And I think that's why so much happened right around 40. And my book Flirting with 40 was big only in part because I had all these things happen right around where it was almost like, why am I living still to please others who don't even really know who I am on the inside? And that isn't to sound like a victim or poor me, but I really tried to always shape to people to make them more comfortable with me. And I finally realized if they're not comfortable, that's okay. But also, if we don't want to ask girls and women to go through life making everyone else comfortable, that's not.
I'm a big people pleaser, and my sister, who's been doing some work on herself, she's like, Jenny, it is not your job to make everyone else happy. Them coming out, I'm like, okay, what does everyone want to do? Like, if people are going to come visit, I want to make sure everybody is happy right now. And she's like, it is not your job to make everyone happy. You come up with a plan and we will. And I'm a big people pleaser too. So I totally get that. And I didn't start my writing career till I turned 40.
Oh, nice. Well, I do think for women, our 40s, 50s, 60s are incredible. And that was one of the things I've really found important. That's why I like my women's fiction. They featured, I don't like calling them older heroines, but 40s, 50s, 60s and beyond. We get stronger and we get more confident and we become less dependent on others' approval. I think we become, sounds corny, kind of magnificent. And
yeah,
I love it. Yeah.
I love that. I think, but the media doesn't like to tell us that. At least when I was growing up, getting older was, oh, you're going to get older. You'll become invisible. You'll be this and that, color your hair, do this. But honestly, I think we are so badass. I think my family of guys is a little terrified of me.
Well, that's one of the things I loved about Finn was that he called her out on her people pleasing. I mean, when she kept saying, I can't renege on adoption because of these other people. And he's like, no, that's not how this works. And it took a huge leap of faith in herself. That's what I loved about this book, that she had to say, you're right. It's about me and my baby and being okay with putting herself and her child first and not worrying about it.
But this is why I got so mad at him in a way. I mean, he was actually, I love it when characters step in and they are who they are. And I'm not really shaping them. They're just like, I'm here. Finn changed a lot between me setting the book aside and returning. Finn just is like, I've got my thing I need to do. Kind of like, I love that he was supportive of her. You got to go do you. But he's like, I'm still out of here. So I got to do me. You got to do you. We're going to have this great life of doing what we need to do on our own individually. And I think maybe sometimes men don't understand also the complexity of caring for another. And even like his mom, the brief scenes with her, where this thing of, I don't know how to explain it. I just feel like we're tied to people more so than maybe men are in, I don't know if it's a DNA way or a hormone way, but I don't know how one just can walk away from family or love. And he was saying, yeah, keep the baby. You can do this. But then he wasn't going to be around. So it was one more thing she'd have to do on her own. And I thought, you're such a knucklehead.
I know. But it was so real. Like I could hear an Army Ranger saying that. And then she does it. And then, of course, then she realizes that he's not going to stick around. I don't think she actually really understood that, which the internal conflict there was so great. Because I think she was really hoping he would at some point go, you know what, I want to be here. This is where. Okay.
Yeah. And I actually struggled a little bit with deciding how and when he would have this epiphany on his own. And
because his proposal that first time, what, dude, you did that all wrong.
Mr. Darcy's proposal, wasn't it? I mean, that just took me right back to Mr. Darcy.
Well, and I think that was he just was so practical, like and the practicality came before other things. And I don't know where, again, I don't know where, because I'm writing all these Campbell brothers, and I think he's my second or third Campbell brother. I started with the Campbell sister, and then they're all brothers for 5. And I'm writing this year's Christmas book as another Campbell brother, and I'm kind of going nuts with these guys. I like next time fewer siblings, maybe. But you know, and the thing is, their dad was so hard. He was so hard, and yet his mom was able to like stand up to this hard dad and then raise all these guys. And I think trying to articulate the world, and also not the feminine world as in just girls or women, but the side where emotions matter and connection matters. And I maybe again it's because I'm here near the Marine Corps base of Camp Pendleton, and I know a lot of military wives. They've all learned how to manage. Our associate publisher's from Texas, and her husband's from Texas. They didn't meet till San Clemente, but he's been deployed for months and months and months and months. He comes home a little bit and he's gone, and they've got 2 little boys, and she's got the job, and there's no complaining ever. But there's this, he has his job, she has her job, and I think the guys figure they can't worry about everybody when they're away. So they've got to trust that she's doing fine at home with the kids. And I think that was true for me for Finn. So how do we have him have his moment that, like, maybe this is not the right thing I should be doing. Like, maybe I can make another choice. And I don't know that guys automatically rush forward into a different choice. So I think that was maybe in the end of the second writing, that was my moment with what would not be just true to them, but also what does a reader need from the story at this point? You know, we've had those emotional ups and downs. And that's how every book for me is so important. What is the reader wanting and needing? Because as a storyteller, I want to give them the best form of, say, a story or entertainment. And as a reader, I'm really demanding on a book I read. Like, I want to be able to.
You don't want people to throw the book across the room.
No, and I want them when they finish, that feeling with, like, here, I'll hold my book briefly. But when you finish, like anybody, like a book, like you kind of hold it for a second.
Yeah.
And like
to your chest.
Yes, like you absorb it for a second. Or with my Kindle, I just kind of like sit there, and then I think about it for a moment, and you're just going, wow, that was really good. It was a good use of your time, but also it was a great escape. And to me, there's nothing better than an escape in a noisy, complex world.
One thing I really liked too is how alone Savannah seemed at the beginning. Like, it's just her and Mick, her and the dog. And then, like, by the end of the book, she's got Bear and Josie, and Andrea, the mom, Finn's mom, and like this whole like thing around, community around her when she had, and then the baby's daddy's parents, and like this part. Like all this whole big community around her. And I really like that, how alone versus then at the end, all this found family she had around her. And I think that support is so important, especially for like a new mom,
Well, I didn't have lots of that. For me as a mom, I don't know why the 2 men I've married are also kind of, they're a little bit loners and very, very alpha. And, so we've always kind of been like, it's just us against the world. But again, that's what the writing world gave me. It gave me really amazing friends. And I knew when I went through my divorce way back when, and I had to lose my married name because he said, do not keep it. I don't want my name on you. Oh. I was so grateful that in writing and publishing, my name was still my name, Jane Porter. So to my writers, nothing changed. To my readers, nothing changed. And the writers, maybe because what we do for our job is problem solve. I mean, we're really good, and we're really good at getting into different points of view, and we're really good at projecting, solving backwards, moving forward. I mean, what we do, like, women are already badass, and then you add writing to who we are and what we do, and I'm like, God, girls, we're like the best, aren't we? And because it's amazing. I really do think what we do is amazing, and it's hard. Like, it's so hard sometimes. And
then, Jane, you took it to a whole nother level and you started your own publishing company.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about how that came about and how you went from like writer extraordinaire to publisher, and you're still writing.
Well, part of it was looking for a solution. I had some health stuff going on, just an autoimmune that nobody could diagnose. And the favorite thing doctors said was, oh, you need to do yoga or Pilates, you need to be less stressed. And I'm like, that's it. So my hands would really swell up, and I became hypersensitive to pain through my fingertips. And so typing was like agonizing. And they would say, go to bed and type in bed, where none of them also realized me typing like this, it actually pinched nerves more. So I began to problem solve again with writer friends who said, no, don't do that. Make sure you're really upright. And there was other things I was trying. So I thought if I'm not able to write, I could still read. I could still work with writers. And then, so part of it was like, I don't want to leave the book world. I don't. And I had one editor with Harlequin. I had 4 different editors with one little book. I mean, those books were 55,000 words. And each, and this is in that part where I could barely type, wanted a totally different book. It's just, and I'd always sold really well. I had a very strong career, but they were shifting. And one editor wanted him less alpha and her more modern or more this. And then one wanted way more alpha. And it was insane. And rewriting that book over and over and over when my hands were so bad, I just thought, I kind of don't know that I'm a writer anymore. I don't know that I can do this. I can't clearly make editors happy. And the first book I actually wrote Take Me Cowboy for 2. Yes. The first book I wrote after all of this was my little novella for Thule. And I just thought, I'm just going to write what I know readers like me to do. And again, Megan Crane coined it for me because it really helped, was the Jane Porter fairy tale. My version, which is ordinary girl gets the thing, the happy ever after, gets the one thing she doesn't think can happen. And so having that, be nominated for the Rita was fabulous because it validated that I can write, and I do know what readers are coming to me for. And having my peers, even if there's only 5 of them, say this is good, really, really mattered. Because at that point, trying to please like the editor or whatever, over and over and over, till I don't think they understood how much it was breaking me. And it just, and the confidence and I don't want to say it was painful, but and then just after I finished that one, but also throughout it, that whole year, my oldest son, and I'm pretty open about this because I think it's important we talk about mental health. My oldest, who at the time was 18 and had gone to Texas A&M for sports management, he had to leave school, and he came home in the middle of his freshman year with and wasn't diagnosed for another probably a couple months as bipolar. And the medications they were putting him on were not the right ones. And I've never, to see him suffer in person. Anyway, it was to see someone you love so much want to die so badly, and thought he should, because his brain had turned him, as he said, into someone terribly evil, that he was the devil, when he was the one son who always was there for mom. And even through, I was divorced for 9 years, helped mom all the time. The garbage, this, that, mom, I'll do it. Mom, I'll do it. And to see him hurt so much and hate himself so much. And bipolar does run in my family. In fact, I wrote a book years before any of this called She's Gone Country. And one of the sons really struggled, and she just prayed. It was middle school, it was just depression, because her brother had bipolar and had taken his life later. And I just was like, anything, I would used to pray anything but bipolar. So when he was diagnosed, I just thought, how will I ever write again a story, a simple, silly romance, when there's such hard, painful things in life? And then I realized, but this is why we create these stories, because someone needs it. Someone needs an escape. I can't, in my writing, give myself that escape. I really don't, when people say, oh, just escape into your writing, I'm like, no, I feel too much. But if I go read your book and I'm like loving it, I do escape. So I think books, I've always said books saved me. And you know, that son is now 31 maybe, and he's still here with us. It's not easy. He sometimes has really good times, and other times he's still trying to figure out how to live life. So it's different. But I guess the point is, I'm not this machine that can write through everything hard. I sometimes need to push back. I need to figure it out. And I struggle with people who say, well, just write. And I'm like, I don't want to. I want to curl up in bed with a book and then read for a while and then maybe nap, because napping means you don't have to like feel for that hour. Mm-hmm. So Thule was my way, and it was good because I just hired Megan Farrell when Jake was becoming more and more erratic, and I didn't know what was going on. And thank God, I always say I hired her right out of University of Texas. I was her first job. She's still with us almost 14 years later. And she was a psych major. And she always teased because like, oh, this is the perfect thing for me to study, working with you writers. But I don't want to like make anybody uncomfortable with faith, but my faith has like, it hit me yesterday. Like even in the hardest of times, I used to think like God didn't love me. It was a very punitive God I felt like I was raised with. And it hit me yesterday. Look at how much God does love me, because through the hardest of hard times, and there's been some very hard times, like I've never like I'm here and my kids are here and my husband's here. And like, if that's not love, whether it's God love or the strength of a community love, I mean, I do believe that's why we write what we write. Love redeems, love saves, love heals, and it empowers. I mean, love to me is like, I don't care what people say about our industry. I don't care what they say about our books. What we do to me is the highest of callings. And I'll fight you if you say it's not.
No,
Jane, I just want to get on a plane and come over there and hug you.
Do you see why I can't take myself out in public? You see why I have to do hair and makeup? Because I'm a whole lot. And then I'm like, oh, you asked me to speak somewhere and I'm like sharing things. Everybody's like so uncomfortable or like, oh, that's a lot. And I don't know what
I think you're fantastic. I love everything you've shared. Yeah.
Jane,
I can totally relate.
Is that why you went on to purchase Reader Author Get Together? So you
I didn't
all of this?
Well, you know, I didn't really want to. I didn't even know. But when Lori, what it was again, how much I love author.
Why don't you tell people what Reader Author Get Together is?
Okay. Reader Author Get Together is an incredible event that Lori Foster started 21 years ago. It was her baby. It was her own gathering of readers and authors, and it started small and was very organic and just kind of grew and grew. And but she got to a point where she was like, and it's always like Greater Cincinnati, and that way you pull your readers from Indiana, you pull your readers from Ohio, Kentucky, just all over. And I have long admired Lori. I knew her from like Harlequin things. I love that she was always an advocate for, you know, she had her nonprofits. She cared so much about animals, kids with cancer. And so when I had finally was able to attend for the very first time, because it's always fallen right when kids are taking finals in California, or it's just always been like our kids in California don't get out of school till like sometimes late June. So I'm like, I can't go. And finally it was like, oh, I can go this time. And I'd only been signed up for a couple of months, and I'm still working out like my boardroom with Taylor Quinn. And then she announced, well, this will be our last year. And so I just kept paying attention in December because I had signed the contract in January. And she's like, will anybody take it on? And nobody volunteered. And I used to be an event planner. And I guess that's something my brain does well, is like making decisions and like, let's just do it. And I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to say, oops, let's make a different decision. It doesn't seem stressful to me. It's something my brain does well that isn't related to emotions. So I kept waiting, and I reached out to her privately. I'm like, do you have anybody who's stepping up? And she said, no, I think we're going to have to let it go at the end of December. I can't do it anymore. And and that's that. And I said, oh no, Lori. And I'm like, well, I can't stand hearing that because it's something you built. I mean, it was such an investment of her. And I have so much respect for her, and people have loved it. I had readers say for years, you need to come, Jane, you need to come. So I'm like, Lori, if no one else steps up by New Year's, I'll do it. And I kept praying, please someone step up. And no one did. And so she reached out and she said, why don't you, Alan, her husband, and I have a Zoom? And we did in the first week or so of January. And they explained it to me, and I think it is such a great event. I think what was hard is no real budget or numbers came to me. There was nothing really other than the hotel contract, and so that was hard. I think I've increased the number of authors from what it was because the authors really put it on for the readers, and by adding 10 more authors, it allowed us to break even a little bit easier. But also I've tried to change the structure so it's not solely carried by authors, but if readers are paying a little bit more for their reg, it's something that's shared by them. I love readers, but I also have never felt like as a reader that authors need to pay my way for things. I get their books. You know, how lucky am I that I get to read their books and maybe meet them? So I know I've done a few things differently, and not everyone's necessarily. But I wanted to create a situation where also if you're a new author or debut author or an author who has tight finances, that you can still participate without maybe it being $2,000 or $3,000 to sponsor just a meal. And so I don't know. I'm still new, but I loved it last year. I have to say last year was fun, and
It was.
We loved it.
I was my first year, so I had nothing to compare it to, but I loved it.
Well, good. I think I ruffle feathers sometimes by marching ahead, but I just have I don't know how else to do life but march forward.
That's good, because I'm such a second guesser. I second guess every single decision, and then once I make a decision, I worry that I should have made the other decision. And so I would much rather be a march ahead and just go forth. And so I think it's awesome.
But I think as we get older, we should trust our selves more. We're here because of the good decisions we've made. We know how to handle stuff. We know what we are afraid of maybe is that of others' disapproval or criticism. But nobody knows better for you than you. Nobody. My spouse likes to think he could give me helpful advice. And I'm like, dude, you are lovely to look at, and you're funny and all of that, but you actually don't know my inner world. You really don't. So march ahead.
There you go. Oh my gosh.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, Jane, gosh, how much fun have we had with you today? You have made us laugh, cry, and called us badass and wonderful, and we loved every second of this. Magnificent. Oh, yeah. I'm holding on to that.
But we are, and I think we don't get that often reflected back to us. I don't think we're often told the truth, because what a terrifying world for the others if women were able to just move with confidence and excitement or love. Or I think, and this week was really interesting for me because I of course thought Dolly Parton was this hugely talented woman, but what I loved about her was her commitment to human beings. I loved that she wasn't going to judge people. She was going to love them, and that she was going to do what she thought needed to be done. And, people's opinions kind of be damned. And gosh, what a heart, but also she matched it with courage and strength. And that's actually who I think women really are. But I think maybe because my guys often, I hear my, sons and my husband and grandpa who lives with us talking, and they're like, oh, those women, oh, girls, women. And I'm like, God, you guys are so afraid of us, aren't you? Underneath, I think they are a little bit afraid that we're pretty badass. So I think we're always kind of dimming our light a little bit, or, you know, trying to like not, because and if a woman doesn't like me, well, that's her problem now, not mine. I didn't realize that for years that it's not, who said it? It's not my responsibility. Like your sister was telling you, maybe.
Yeah.
It's not my responsibility to make everyone comfortable with me. I don't want to make them uncomfortable, but I don't have to change me so other people can feel better about themselves or whatever. So that's why, again, we write. I think we write for all of this. We write to let people know, feel your feelings are valid, and you matter.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
You've done a wonderful job with that. Thank you so much for being here. We really, truly enjoyed it. So, and we'll see you soon.
See you soon.
And we'll see you soon. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Okay. That was amazing. That was so fun.
Well, I'm reading this one right now, and it's great. It's great.
Oh, good.
Wonderful.
Wendy says, Laurel says, thank you all so much. I love this chat. And thank you for joining us today. And September, we have another great book. Are we ready to announce? I'm sorry, I didn't step on anybody's toes. Okay, right. By Liana De La Rosa, Mutual Discord. So there we go. Super excited to be able to read that. And we will chat with her at the end of September. And we also have our Fall Into a Book giveaway coming in September. So get ready. Hold on to your hats. That's going to be a fun one. And any other announcements?
No, that's it.
That's good.
Okay. All right. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon, guys. Bye.